Headlines today: Tigray government loads appointment of the members of the International Commission of Human Rights experts within Ethiopia. A genocide continues in Tigray, Ethiopia, while the world focuses on Ukraine, and UN asking for $205 million for the displaced in northern Ethiopia. The government of Tigray loads the appointment of members of the International Commission of Human Rights experts on Ethiopia. The government of Tigray today released a statement expressing its appreciation to the presidents of the Human Rights Council for appointing Fatou Bensouda of the Gambia, Kari Betty Murungi of Kenya, and Stephen Ratner of the United States of America to serve as the three members of this commission. The commission was also created to undertake the independent investigations into any and all atrocities that have been committed in Tigray or elsewhere during this ongoing war and conflict in the Tigray region. The statement said that Abiy Ahmed's regime continues to unleash a campaign of genocide, ethnic cleansing, and other systematic measures to exterminate the people of Tigray, such as through starvation, airstrikes, drone attacks, arbitrary mass arrests of Tigrayans across the entirety of Ethiopia, just solely on the account of their identity. In the context of these shocking atrocities, the appointment of members of the International Commission of Human Rights experts on Ethiopia is a necessary first step in the international community's attempt to stop the commission of further atrocities, as well as hold the perpetrators of those heinous crimes accountable. Given the distinguished pedigree of the newly appointed members of the Commission in the legal and human rights arena, the government of Tigray expressed its confidence that they will discharge their responsibilities with the utmost integrity in accordance with the Council's established working methods as well as procedures. The government of Tigray said, as the legitimate representative of the people of Tigray who have borne the brunt of Abiy Ahmed's regime on ongoing genocidal campaign, it appreciates the necessity of meaningfully engaging all parties within the conflict. The government of Tigray said it has established a highly leveled task force with full authority to manage all pertinent issues on this matter, and the people and the government of Tigray are committed to cooperating with the Commission as it fulfills its mandate, as this statement stressed. The government of Tigray also said it joins the international community in strongly urging the Ethiopian government to reverse its opposition to an independent investigation and accept without any reservations the legitimacy and the mandate of the International Commission of Human Rights and their experts on Ethiopia. If the Abiy Ahmed regime persists with its unjustifiable objection to the Commission, by extension, the very idea of independent investigation into the atrocities committed throughout the conflict, the international community should interpret this insurgence as the admission of guilt on the part of Abiy Ahmed, as the statement urged. The government of Tigray also urged the international community not to allow the Abiy Ahmed regime to levy any baseless accusations against the government of Tigray for its rights and the violations, whitewash its own criminal record in Tigray, and still strenuously object the independent investigation. A genocide continues in Tigray, Ethiopia, while the rest of the world is focused on Ukraine and their crisis. The Bell reported that the mental and material elements to establish the crime of genocide exists within the Tigray region. Timnit Bairu presents the details.
Article 2 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in 1948 provides two of the constitutive elements for the crime of genocide. The first element is the mental element of the perpetrator's intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. The second component of the crime is the overt or material aspect of the crime, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, and forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Usually, identifying the mental element or intent of any crime is where the difficulty lies. Tigray is an exception in this regard, says the Bell, adding that there exists ample evidence that the ongoing collective suffering of Tigrayans by Ethiopian military and allied Eritrean defense forces and Amhara militia emanates from a genocidal intent against Tigrayans. Pekka Haavisto, Finnish Foreign Minister and European Union envoy to Ethiopia, in his statement to the Parliament of the European Union, publicly testified to the malice of the Ethiopian leadership when on June 15, 2021, he reported the Ethiopian leadership had said they were going to wipe out Tigrayans for 100 years. Several Ethiopian officials, including the Prime Minister himself, have publicly used dehumanizing words against ethnic Tigrayans. Words like cancers, traitors, daytime hyenas are often used by Ethiopian officials while referring to ethnic Tigrayans. Several credible reports have documented the massive human rights abuses committed by the military in Tigray, which many observers believe constitute genocide. Despite the communications blackout in Tigray, independent actors like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Doctors Without Borders have attested to the heinous crimes perpetrated by the Ethiopian military and its allies. Widespread rape, gang rape, summary executions, torture, and forced disappearances have been vastly reported. As per Amnesty International's report, Eritrean soldiers killed hundreds of innocent civilians in the historic city of Aksum over the span of 2 days in November 2020. Soldiers targeted unarmed civilians, opening fire in the streets and conducting house-to-house raids, in a massacre that may amount to a crime against humanity. Thousands of civilians are allegedly killed in other massacres, including Mahwaradego, Dabra Apai, Mariam Dangalat, Tembin, Togoga, and Irob by Ethiopian and Eritrean troops and the Amhara militia. Tigray is under blockade, although more than 5.2 million people need emergency assistance. In the words of Dr. Tedros Adhanom, chief of the World Health Organization, Tigray remains in a de facto humanitarian blockade. Malnourished children dying in the hands of their mothers, diabetic patients dying in the hands of their doctors is the new normal in Tigray. Relentless drone strikes kill scores of civilians every day. The Bell noted that the genocide in Tigray seems to have slipped through the cracks of the multilateral governance system. The United Nations Security Council has discussed the matter multiple times. However, it has failed to act. The Bell stressed the UN Security Council must act immediately to impose a no-fly zone and open a humanitarian corridor to Tigray in order to stop the daily death of hundreds of innocent people from bombs and man-made famine.
As the world's current focus is in Ukraine, UNHCR is appealing for $205 million for assistance to more than 1.6 million people that have been displaced by this ongoing conflict in the northern region of Ethiopia. The 16-month conflict in northern Ethiopia has resulted in a humanitarian crisis for more than 2 million people who have been forced to flee their homes. The UN Refugee Agency says most of the victims are displaced inside of Ethiopia, while nearly 60,000 have fled to the neighboring Sudan. UNHCR spokeswoman Shabia Mantu said all are in desperate need of support. Eritrea, which supports the government, reportedly has attacked several camps in Tigray, housing tens of thousands of Eritrean refugees. Again, UNHCR spokeswoman Shabia Mantu said funds from the appeal will help provide protection and humanitarian assistance to those affected by continuing the violence inside of Ethiopia. Mantu also said UNHCR will provide protection as well as assistance to the thousands of Ethiopian refugees who have fled to eastern Sudan. And critical aid, she said, includes construction of shelters, strengthening healthcare, as well as education. She said the agency will scale up the psychosocial as well as mental health support to the severely traumatized civilians. She also adds that $16 million is being set aside for any potential influx of Ethiopian refugees into the neighboring Djibouti, Kenya, Somalia, as well as South Sudan. Members of the Tigrayan diaspora in Milano, Italy, yesterday joined thousands of labor activists rallying against the war around the entire globe. The Tigrayans in Milano voiced the plight of the people of Tigray, who are currently suffering due to the ongoing war of the genocide imposed by Abiy Ahmed's government and its allies, as well as the blockade that's been surrounding the region. They particularly called on countries like Turkey, the UAE, and China to stop arming the Ethiopian government with drones as well as other weapons. In anticipation of economic hardship, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed turns to a delicacy advisor. Observers noted in his most recent public address, Abiy Ahmed is seen giving a lecture on how to survive, only by eating green leaves. He also advised Ethiopians to abandon the use of cooking oil, butter, as well as other condiments. Instead, he urged Ethiopians to cook with only water and a pinch of salt, which garnered quite the feedback on Twitter. Horn of Africa analyst Rashid Abdi wrote in his official Twitter account that Abiy is teaching Ethiopians everything: how to drive safely, how to beat famine by growing veggies on terraces, and how to cook lettuce to a fine taste. He also added that he has ceased to be prime minister. He's currently a chef, a lifestyle guru, a seer or a messiah, an emperor, a warrior, all rolled into one, Rashid Abdi wrote on his Twitter account. Ethiopian journalists take a stand for press and its freedom in the year 2022. For decades, Ethiopia has carved a reputation for itself as one of the world's top jailers of journalists due to the institutional and systematic crackdowns on critical voices and thin tolerance for any forms of dissent during this ongoing conflict, and it's only getting worse. Journalists from various media outlets in Ethiopia and abroad have issued an open letter calling on the Ethiopian government to respect media and its rights. The journalists said in 2021, 2 journalists, Dawit Kabeda and Sisai Fida, were killed and over 40 of other colleagues were arrested, making Ethiopia among Africa's top jailers of journalists in total. That concludes our news for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.